I have a consultation that I do with my potential clients, and we discuss their wants, needs, desires, even some of their past relationship, the history of their past relationships. And at that moment, I determine whether they have deep issues where they need to seek professional help.
Welcome to Old Guy Talks to Me, a podcast dedicated to helping guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. Ladies, if you want to know what your guy is thinking, this podcast is for women too. Each week, a special guest helps you create that life you've imagined. We talk anti-aging medicine, personal growth, relationships and hot sex. Yeah, you hear me, getting laid more frequently. Other guy vices, and topics that many don't want to talk about but need to. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to be old. Don't want to miss anything? Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review this podcast. And be sure to go to www.thestandard.academy/magazine and grab a free copy of our new digital magazine, The Standard Academy, where we talk about erogenous zones, growing hair back, and other things that will help you create that kick-ass life. Now get ready to listen up and share with friends.
This is Orson, the official old guy at oldguytalkstome.com, a podcast dedicated to helping older guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. And, we always talk about stuff, and we talk about all sorts of stuff on this program. And one of the things we talk about is relationships and dating. Yeah. And now you may be married and you're complaining about, not having enough sex. That's a whole nother topic. And part of that maybe is that you've stopped dating your wife's significant other girlfriend. And we're going to talk about that because if you are sitting there and feel entitled, well, that's not a good place to be. But dating is important, both if you're single and if you're in a committed relationship. Yes. So today I have dating expert Renee Easterling. She is a dating and relationship and empowerment coach. She's an author, speaker, and social media personality. She's also the current chief executive officer of the Perfect Gentlemen's Club, established in 2020. And I know I'm going to give you a hard time about this name here. Renee, that sounds like a strip club. The Perfect Gentleman sounds like a strip club. There's no doubt. And I'm sure there is a Perfect Gentleman strip club somewhere out there in the United States.
Yes, I'm sure.
And she also has a podcast soon to be released, On the Couch Talk with Renee. And she says that her book is called The Rules of Dating Guide, which was released empowering singles in all lifestyles and identity categories to have enjoyable dating lives, relationships, and partnerships through a personal development and boundary setting techniques. And Renee's mission is to help singles and newly divorcees conquer their fears of dating and build healthy relationships. And she's been coaching for 5 years. And so a lot of you may find yourself in this divorcee situation. And, one of the things that happens, and I want to talk about this later as we get into the program, is that a lot of times people get divorced and then they start dating and they haven't done anything about who they are. And they end up dating the same person essentially that they divorced and getting married again, and then the same things come up and they end up getting divorced again. That's how you end up with wife number 4,
or 5,
or whatever. But I'm going to ask you what I ask all my guests. I should say all, but most of the time when I remember. Start off. What is the most important thing you've done today?
You know what? I just left from seeing my personal trainer working out today.
Okay.
Yes. That was the most important thing that I have done today.
Okay, cool.
Yes. The coach needs a coach.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All coaches have coaches. Even my coaches have coaches. Tony Robbins, probably who's most famous, he has coaches. Right. Believe it or not, he has coaches. Everyone needs coaches, and actually all high caliber athletes and performers have coaches. I mean, they, from Michael Jordan to all the tennis players to all the, athletes or whatever, they all have coaches. They don't do it on their own because they can't do it. So let's get started on talking about how did you get into the space? What drove you to be in this coaching space? Because you can, I think it's very interesting, but also there's a lot of drama you can get into.
I agree, Oris. So prior to me getting married, I was single for years, and all I wanted to do was just get married. I didn't care. And a lot of women are like this, where they just want the idea or the dream or the fairy tale of being married.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't think about the ingredients that goes into it. We just want the cake. And so I met my husband and we got married, and we both were immature at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing led to another and another. And of course, we separated and then divorced. And then I found myself back in the dating pool. And I was so frustrated after being married and going from someone that I know, and this is what I'm used to going to someone that I don't know, to having to get to know someone all over again, their ways, and having to adjust. It was rough in the beginning. And I think I was still bitter because of my divorce. So at one point I stopped dating and I started going to therapy. And then after I started healing, I got back into the dating pool, and it was so frustrating. I would meet guys and I would think everything was fine. And at that time, I didn't want to get remarried right away, but my end game was marriage. And I was meeting guys who weren't even thinking about commitment, marriage, or any of that. So as I started dating more and more, I started meeting more women that were dating as well, and they were running into the same problem. Mm-hmm. And then also there were times when I would coach some of my male friends through their relationships. And so that kind of turned into, why don't you help him? And then I started helping another friend, and then another friend. And then it went from, you should be Mrs. Hitch. And so I started laughing about that, but I still couldn't figure out, how can I help myself? And then that drive led to me talking to other men about their issues with dating. And then I said, wait a minute. I said, well, women are thinking the same thing. And then that opened the door to me coaching men and women and helping to build a bridge with the dating gap. Because I think that there is a breakdown in the dating gap, in the dating world, because men see things differently and women see things differently, but there's no one there to bridge the gap between the two.
Right.
And what I started finding out was there was a lot of coaches on social media that were taking their stance with men, and they would bash women. And then you had the women that were bashing the men. And I said, wait a minute, it's like a tug of war and there's no middle ground. And so that kind of opened the door to me helping my friends and relatives and people that I didn't know. And then it just progressed and moved on, and now full-fledged business.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good for you. Good for you. So I want to go back to something you said in the beginning of this comment, when you said that you were looking for a relationship, and were the guys looking for a hookup? Basically, friends with benefits or whatever.
Yeah, it was all types. Look, friends with benefits. Then you had some that didn't, just wanted to just sex, casual sex. And then you had some guys that did want relationships, but they didn't have the tools, or they weren't really ready because they were still scarred from a previous relationship.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that. And interesting that you mentioned about some of the therapists that are out there. And actually, I interviewed one here on my podcast, and then I had an exchange with her in emails. And at that point, I still do have at-home medical grade acoustic wave therapy product that I promote to treat erectile dysfunction. And her comment to me was, well, men think about their penises too much. And I'm thinking like, holy shit. There's in a relationship, I believe there's spiritual, there's emotional, and physical intimacy. And you got to have all three.
I totally agree.
And I was thinking to myself, holy crap, I would hate to be the poor bastard in that counseling session where she's acting. I mean, I'm going to call what I think she is. I think she's a man hater. She's a man hater because she's also comes from she's not in a relationship. She had a very, from what I gather, was a kind of a very bad breakup and all that stuff. And I can imagine just you're sitting there, you're actually 2-on-1 in that coaching relationship. And I'll say this right here, right now, is that there are a lot of great women that are relationship coaches.
Right.
This was actually kind of an anomaly. And that's why it sticks out so much in my mind, because there's a lot of them out there that are great. I mean, are great, and so, and because you mentioned that about the whole disparity. So when you're working with a client, what do you let's say from a man's perspective, when they're let's say they're fresh out of a relationship, and they're fresh out of a divorce, what's the process of getting them ready to get into a relationship that's going to be long lasting and a good relationship, not just a hookup situation?
Right. Well, I have a consultation that I do with my potential clients, and we discuss their wants, needs, desires, even some of their past relationship, the history of their past relationships. And at that moment, I determine whether they have deep issues where they need to seek professional help. And because all men may not have deep scars. A lot of men may not have deep scars or deep wounds from relationships, but the ones that do tend to carry it into the next one and the next one. And they have a pattern of taking one relationship history to the next, and then they always fail at it, and they start blaming women. So what I would like to do is sit down with the man, we talk, and if I can hear his anger with women, or if I see that he has some deep rooted issues that is causing his relationships to not work out or not to materialize, I always recommend that they go and seek counseling or a therapist, because I'm not a counselor and I'm not a therapist, but I do know when there's some deep rooted issues. So I refer them to who they need to speak to. And then once they can heal or deal with the root cause of their relationship failure, then I can coach them because they're easier.
Sure. It's kind of hard when somebody's in an angry situation.
Right.
So when people are ready to move into a relationship, and what is it that you think are the most important things for them to be looking at, especially from a man's perspective, looking at women out there now? What do you think is most important?
The most important thing is to know yourself, to know what it is that you want, to know your goals. Because when I tell you this, you may laugh about it, but I have a lot of men that don't understand that they have a polygamy mentality or a poly mentality, which it's okay if that's what you choose, but they're trying to date women that are monogamous. And so those relationships don't work out, because the nature of him is he enjoys having multiple relationships. So I help them to be honest with themselves. If I look at the past relationships and all of them were supposedly monogamy, but you were cheating in the relationship, then let's talk about becoming, going into the poly relationships because they work out better for you.
Sure.
And so I do have a male client that we transitioned him to poly because he's never been loyal or faithful to any woman. So we talk about that. So that's the main thing, is know who you are, know what you want, and know your goals. Those are foundations that make the best relationships.
Yeah, I think the most the biggest part is to know who you are, because until you have an accurate assessment of who you are, then it's hard to function in the world, because you are functioning as a lie,
right?
As a lie if you don't know who you are. So men and women will repeat patterns in their relationships, and I know that before I got married, I was a serial engagement guy. Yeah, I didn't get married till I was 40. Right. I was engaged multiple times. My MO was smart, beautiful women. And I would be in a long-term relationship, and then of course I'd use the guy line. This is so cheesy. That oh, it's not you, it's me.
Right. You know what?
Yeah. And it was a soften the blow. And the only person that was softening the blow on was me. And the reality of it is that even though I thought it was them, it really was me in the relationship, because as you mentioned earlier about being very immature, and I was very immature for a long time in my life until several things happened to me, which made me grow up real fast. What is the difference between working with a man and a woman in this space?
Honestly, it's really not a big difference, because people are people. Everyone has the same issues in regards to relationships. And bottom line is, even with women, they do not want to let go of their list. Men, their list isn't as big as a woman's list as women, but that is the biggest problem with both genders. People want what they want at any cost, whether it's not healthy for me, it's not a good idea, or it's not a good time. I just want what I want. Women are like that, men are like that. And then once the relationship goes sour, they start doing the pointing, the blaming. And so now all men are dogs and all women are this and all women are that. So it goes both ways.
Yeah. So when you talk about lists, what because I'll ask both these questions. What three things do you say would be on a man's list, and what three things would be maybe at the top of a woman's list?
Okay, I'll start with women first.
Okay.
So most women want a wealthy six-figure, not all, handsome, the whole 9 yards when it comes to being able to provide, which I agree with the man providing, so I don't have a problem with that. But I think sometimes that list becomes a problem with women because they want a man to rescue them. There are some women that are looking to be rescued.
Sure.
And they want this man to look exactly like they want him to look, so that they don't have to put the work in. Okay. And then as far as the men, their list, most men are usually physical. So sometimes it's more of the physical attributes, and some men want more of a super submissive woman. And sometimes that just always doesn't work out because of personalities. And so some of them, they want the physical, they want their ego stroked. So they need you to look a certain way. And that's usually the highest thing on their list. I need her to be fine. She has to be very beautiful. She has to look like Beyonce. or
Sure.
Jennifer Lopez or something. And so they get caught up in the physical, and the women get caught up in the material.
Sure. So you're talking about women looking to rescue, especially from a financial standpoint. Let's kind of talk a little bit about a group of women that I think have some say they have challenges and others don't. Women that are financially independent, successful.
Okay.
What are they looking for, and what challenges do they have in seeking a relationship?
So anytime you find a woman that has climbed the success ladder and she's doing very, very well, a lot of those women expect for a man to offer her the same as she has received for herself. And so you have more women in the dating pool than men. That's a fact. And so a woman is looking, her list is bigger and the pool is smaller. So she's finding it hard. A woman that is looking for him to be super financially secure and or make more money than her, she has already given herself more challenges if she's really looking for love. And then you have the women that are financially set, but they don't care if a man meets that requirement because they know that they're looking for a real relationship. They want to be treated well. They want to be loved. So you do have those women as well, the ones that they're okay with the man making less money. But now you have the challenges for men who don't feel like a man when they're with a woman that makes more money. So you see how there's an imbalance right there?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right. So it can go both ways when you're not open-minded.
Yeah. And that's really becoming more prevalent now. As you know, when I was younger, which was a long time ago, let's say, because I went to dental school and I became a periodontist. And when I was in dental school in the late 70s and I graduated in 81, 10% of my class was women, which at that time was considered high.
Right.
Okay. Now it is over 50% are women. And that's true in dentistry, it's true in medicine, it's true in law school, it's true in college in general. Right. There's more women in college than there are men now, statistically. And so that pool is very different, and there's challenges to that. And I think that those are fairly high earning high earning individuals. We have friends who know, and they're actually very, very happily married. But she was a dermatologist in a cosmetic practice, and I'm sure that her earnings were in the high six figures and maybe even seven figures. Her husband was an engineer, and but he was in the low 600s.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, in the low six figures. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it's not like he was. It wasn't like he was working. He wasn't. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but it wasn't like he was working at a convenience store.
Right. Exactly.
at $11 an hour, or now it's 15. And so actually, they made an active decision for him to leave his career, and he actually managed her office.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, which was
so they were partners. They became partners.
Yeah, they became partners, and actually that was a lot more. And it was a lot. They actually were able to grow the practice together because he was obviously very vested in the growth of the practice. So I think that was a very interesting thing. But there is, I think, there is a shortage of and you talked about masculinity a little bit. There is. I hear women complaining that there aren't really there's fewer men out there. That we call truly the traditional men that so often in society is being like There's all sorts of words that didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. We were laughing about this last night. We were talking about, manspreading, patriarchy, mansplaining, patriarchy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
it's just kind of like, there's a certain amount of both societal and endocrinological challenges to men in the 21st century that did not exist decades ago. So how do you figure that? How do you figure that kind of impacts the whole dating cycle?
Well, if I may be real, let me say this. Okay, say for instance, you are searching for a car, right? And you go into Google and you say, four-door car. I need a four-door car. Millions and millions of cars will come up.
Right.
But the minute you start putting specifics on the color, the year, the miles, the type, all of that, then it dwindles your search down to hundreds. And then when you start adding more features that you want, guess what? It dwindles it down just even more. So now you have millions of cars, hundreds of cars to a few cars because of your taste or what you want or your requirement, right?
Right.
So I personally don't think that there's a shortage of single men. I think that there's a shortage of committed single men, men that are really, really ready to commit.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you have a smaller pool, but you got a long list. And so when you can't find what's on your list, then you'll start saying, oh, it's not enough out there. Or it's some out there. It's a lot of men out there. They just don't fit your criteria.
Right. Right. And that's true. At the same time, there is this kind of where young men are more interested in playing video games than they are in relationships. And also, I mean, and that's a true situation that you see remarked upon. I remember there was an article in the Atlantic where they're talking about this whole thing about the difference where they're talking about the disparity between incomes and things like that. And now there was a big disparity the other way, but now college age women earn more than guys on average and things like that. But there was also the whole thing about levels of very testosterone in men and things like that are going down precipitously.
Do you need accountability? Are you looking to change the course of your life but have failed to keep on track? Too often we take in information and fail to act. Do you need an accountability program to stay the course? Then go to www.thestandard.academy and find out about my accountability program that goes with my course that helps you find out what you want, why you want it, and how to get it. The accountability program keeps you on track to get results.
When you coach men, how do they receive coaching from a woman?
So in order for a man to come to a woman for advice or for help, most of the time he's already humble or he's at his wit's end. He's like, I need answers. And because they've gone to their male friends, they've gone to other guys, but nothing is happening. And so the idea of them coming to the source is like, let me go to a woman. If I need to get my teeth clean, I'm going to a dentist. I'm not going to my OBG.
Right.
So when they come to a woman, they want the inside answers to understand women. So it's easier for them. Like, men don't have a problem talking to me. They open up, they talk to me because they feel comfortable because they want answers. Now, you do have some that's still full of pride and they're not gonna, let you know that they need help, or because they want to feel like I got this, I'm okay, I don't need that, I just want to know this one question. They really want the help, but they're not willing to say, you know what, let me sign up for some coaching. But a lot of guys, they know I need answers because I'm serious about a relationship. I keep failing. I keep getting women that are like this, or, I just need some help. So yeah, they'll call or they'll email me and say, hey, you have any openings, and I'll give them my link and they'll sign up for it.
So yeah, I think that's kind of funny. There's a guy in the cigar bar that I go to. I'm not sure, I haven't seen him in ages, but he's probably in his mid 70s, and he's been a widower for about maybe 5-7 years. And we were talking about stuff, and he was talking about how he misses having someone to have a cup of coffee with in the morning, and stuff. And the guy's, does very well. He's done, financially, he's he travels around the world, blah, blah, probably first class travel, to all sorts of locations and this and that, and does all, skis, likes the opera and all the check things. And he says, yeah. And I suggested to him that he might consider hiring a dating coach.
Right.
And he got very offended. He said, really? He said, I know how to date. And my reply to it is, well, what are your results?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's like when somebody says, I know how to do something, I go like, what are your results? And he didn't like that question.
Right. Because you challenged him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was challenged him.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't have the results, then stop telling me you know how to do something.
Exactly.
It's an interesting phenomenon that people are in denial that they won't see that what they're doing, it's not working. It's not working.
That is the biggest problem with this industry. Mm-hmm. I've had people say, well, why would I need a dating coach? And I say, well, did you have a PE coach in school? Did you have a basketball coach? Did you have a football coach? Did you have a baseball coach or a cheerleading coach? And they were like, yeah. And I said, okay. And how did they help you? And then they started opening their mind up to how coaches help. Yeah. And I said, so they made it easier for you, right? And they were like, yeah. I said, that's what we do. If having a relationship is important, then why not hire a coach if you don't have the answers or what you're doing isn't working?
You see, Renee, you're nicer than I am, because as I said, I go back to to that line, like essentially, how is what you're doing working out for you now? I just let that sit there for a while. And then they come up with all the reasons, and I go like, they're like, there's a list of excuses, reasons, blah, blah. Right. And then I go like, okay, you just said a bunch of stuff. How is what you're doing working out for you? Right.
Exactly. Yep. And they say it's insanity if you keep doing the same thing and getting the same result.
Oh, absolutely.
Expecting something different.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And people are just so pride and stubborn and all that other stuff, because it's kind of like they're foregoing getting what they want when it's possible, but they're actually doing the wrong things. They're actually doing the wrong things. It's exactly. One of the things that in my coaching program, I talk about, people go, oh, I want more sex. I go, well, stop using the word sex.
Right.
And there's 3 things, and I shouldn't be giving. I'm not going to give it, because I'm going to get in my coaching program. I don't want to give it away. But there's 3 things you don't do if you want to get laid more frequently. And I can. They're very simple, but there's 3 things you do absolutely do not do. And for those of you listening, the Standard.Academy is my coaching program. So let's talk about something that I never really experienced, because I've been married for 29 years. Mm-hmm. And got married late in life. I got married when I was 40. I was kind of like an overcooked meal at that point. Uh, and I'm very fortunate to have gotten married to who I did. Um, let's talk about this is so bizarre online dating, because towards the end of my single life, that's when you started having the ads in the paper for dating. So that, and then they grew into the online space. And I'll just start this off with a funny little story. So the last woman I was engaged to prior to my wife, she was a very, very high-powered physician, and this and that. And we actually went to premarital counseling. Mm-hmm. This is how bad our relationship was, and we actually ended up breaking off our engagement. And we remained friends for a while. And actually, I went to her wedding, and she came to my wedding. And it was very interesting. What she did was she found a very expensive dating service, mm-hmm. because she figured that would the cost of entry would eliminate a lot of people that were not basically what she was looking for.
Right.
The cost barrier was pretty significant, mm-hmm. that only people that she might be really interested in were there. So because you got all these, again, and this is where I'm leading around to this question, because you got all these, Match.com, eHarmony, yeah. You got was it Ashley? Is that site still up?
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. That's for the.
I can't think of the name of, but I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, that's for the one that people are having affairs on.
Right.
That they got hacked into. That everybody's names got released. And there's lots of different kind of relatively free, which means that the entry point is pretty mm-hmm. easy. So let's talk about online dating versus, let's say, some of these quote unquote executive dating services.
Mm-hmm. Well, the online, if you download the app to your phone or to your computer and you sign up, and it's free, and it's a lot of free services, and then you have to pay to upgrade for a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So the pool is going to be much bigger, because mm-hmm. anything that's free is going to attract way more people than anything that's paid. So yeah, you do have to filter through a lot more when it's a free dating website. And then you have hackers, people that are just trying to or solicit your services for sex or for money, so you have a bigger pool of people there. So yes, I agree. It is more foolishness with the free websites versus the executive sites where people have to spend $5,000 to $10,000 to be a part of it. Those people mm-hmm. are usually more serious.
Right.
So yes, you will filter out a lot of the people that are not serious.
Yeah. And that's not to say that I'll get in trouble here, and that's fine with me. And that's not to say that even in those sites, you're not going to find, how should I say, people that are toxic,
damaged. Yes.
Yeah. Toxic, damage, or whatever. And I see people go like, oh, masculine toxicity. I've dated women that have been toxic, mm-hmm. and guys are toxic. And right. and women are toxic. Exactly. It's not gender, and exactly. of course I'm very graphic about it. So guys that are toxic are assholes, and women that are toxic are bitches.
Exactly. That's why I say the playing field is the same.
Yeah. So it's not a toxic personality. And actually, I dated a woman that turned out to be like a basic instinct once. It wasn't funny then, but sure it's funny now. Exactly. So those sites. What did those sites bring in terms of, you say, exclusivity? Is that that we're really talking about?
Well, I wouldn't say that they bring exclusivity. You have more, like we were just saying, you have toxic people regardless. You have assholes and you have people women that are just, they're bitches. Whether they're wealthy or whether they're poor.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
There's minimum wage assholes, and then there's multi-billionaires.
Exactly. And some of the privileged with the money, or even worse, it's like, but anyway, regardless, it's the same BS.
Yeah.
If it's a person involved, it's still always going to be contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
The dating pool is always going to be contaminated because of the people. Sure. So in regards to the free websites, there has been some great success with people that have met and have done perfectly fine. And then in the statistics for the executive sites, it's the same. People have done well, and then there are people that have failed at it. Mm-hmm. So it goes hand in hand. I think it's all based on the person, their mentality, and how they treat people, how they communicate, and how they feel about themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think it actually, I think it starts about how you feel about yourself.
Exactly.
I think that's probably the most important relationship you have, both for women and men, right, is the relationship that you have and the conversations that you have inside your head on a daily basis. So, first of all, Renee, if somebody wants to work with you, why don't you tell us your website? And the website's going to be in the program notes, so you don't really have to worry about writing it down. But tell us your website and tell us what the process is of someone signing up for coaching with you.
Okay, so my website is www.theperfectgentlemansclub.com. There's a link on there to sign up. I have a calendar on there for you to sign up for a free consultation. It's like a 10-minute consultation. And then once they sign up for that consultation, there's a video call or a phone call that we establish. And then once we decide how we're going to go forward, they receive a questionnaire. The questionnaire kind of gets some brief information about them to figure out if this is what they're actually looking for, or their goals, or their desires. And then we set up coaching sessions, and I have packages, and I have single sessions, and that's on my website as well. So if a person sets up their single session package, and then we determine how long they will need coaching for and what services, then we move forward from there. Like if they are going to date online, I also help with online profiles. I help them with actually determining their goals for dating, determining what type of woman they're looking, or man that they're looking for. And then we kind of customize the packages and go from there.
Okay. Do you ever turn down a client?
All the time.
And what are the basically the things that make you say we are not a mix?
Well, number one, if you're uncoachable, it's not going to work. Number two, if a person isn't ready to date or to be in a relationship, it's not going to work. Number three, if a person has motives to either like I did have a couple of guys that wanted coaching just so that they could win women, just to abuse women. And I'm saying for sex. And I don't agree with that. If that is what you want to, if your desire is friends with benefits, we can discuss that and we can set your profile up for friends with benefits. Mm-hmm. But I never agree with someone being deceptive with women.
Sure.
So I will not coach a man whose motive is to be deceptive with women and just use women for sexual pleasures. Mm-hmm. I don't do that.
Yeah, and you mentioned about the gentleman who you had who basically will never be monogamous. Mm-hmm. And there's a pool of people that are interested in that.
Exactly.
in that level of relationship. Because there's women that don't want commitments also.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not true. So Renee, I want to thank you. This has been a great conversation that we had. And I think that you have a lot to offer to people in the dating world. And at the same time, again, I think I touched upon this. Dating is not something that ends with marriage or a committed relationship. It's actually something that needs to continue on, or else you lose the spark that keeps you going. It makes it interesting. It makes it fun. And fun is actually a very important part of being in a loving relationship.
I agree. And also, it's funny you say that, because I have coached a few married men that wanted to bring some more fire to their marriage. So I've actually helped men teach their wives how to bring the fire back into the relationship, because she may have been a little closed-minded and there were some things that he wanted to do. And so we would discuss that, and I would show him or explain to him or give him goals on or a foundation on how to motivate your wife to participate in some things that you both will enjoy, or how to come to a happy medium.
Sure.
So.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Renee, thank you. Thank you. And this has been a great conversation. And if you want to get a hold of her, you know how to do that at theperfectgentlemanclub.com. And we'll go from that. This is Orris, the official old guy at oldguytalkstome.com. We're talking about relationships and sex, which is a really important part. And if you like this, be sure to share, rate, and review. And if you don't like it, well, just review me anyway, because I love trolls. I think that they're wonderful things to have in a relationship. So go ahead and troll me up. And until next time, remember, create a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love.
Thank you for joining Dr. Orist and his incredible guest. Like what you heard and learned? Then be sure to do 3 things. 1, subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. 2, share this with someone who may need to hear it. 3, leave a review and rate this podcast. Opt in at www.thestandard.academy/magazine and get our free digital magazine with savings, articles, and deeper dives into cool controversy. Be the guy who takes action. Without action, you're not going to get the results you want. Thank you again, and make it a great day.